This is a theory that I've been seeing a lot of over the last few years. This is something that like I've actually talked to my offline book club about because they had a theory that like this would happen and it just does not make sense to me whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, you have to consider the genre of the books that we're in. These are romantasy books. These are romance books. Elain is a main character in a romance series. There's no way she doesn't have an endgame. This is a story about three sisters overcoming incredible odds, coming into themselves as people, and falling in love while they do it. Whether Elain continues the pattern of falling in love with your mate or continues the pattern of falling in love with an Illyrian dude bro, that remains to be seen. We have until October to at least speculate about that because apparently, according to the internet, I missed a detail. This is not two books. This is 3 volumes, and only the first two have a release date. It's volume 1 in October, and then volumes 2 and 3 in January, and then there's a 4th volume. I am terrified about this editing process. I know that wasn't the point that I was trying to make, but we might be living in a world where Elaine's one storyline, like her one arc, is bigger than Feyre's, and Feyre's the real main character here, which is nutty. But no, I don't have time to complain about that right now. What I am saying is that this is a story about 3 sisters, all 3 of whom need therapy. And it is weird to single out Elain as the one like, oh no, like she needs to be by herself. When Feyre and Nesta are kind of more fucked up and a lot less resilient. I don't know if resiliency is the right word to be looking for here. Like I'm pretty sure resilient is not the word that I'm looking for, but that's the first word that I'm reaching for. What I mean is that Nesta and Feyre, I think, decompensate more externally. And if I had found out that my friend Nesta, like if Nesta was a real person and she was my friend and she was actively decompensating because of a series of traumas that happened to her, and then she started sleeping with an Illyrian fuckboy who was hyper-focused on her virginity, I would tell her she needed to take a single year. And no one in the fandom said that Nesta needed to like take a breather from dating and she needed to not learn to heal her trauma on the business end of Cassian's dick. No one has said that. So I gotta ask, why are we expecting that from Elain? Feyre was essentially like yanked off of one altar and kind of shoved onto another. Like she basically had 2 weddings in one book in Akamath. Like one of them didn't happen and the other one was off screen, but she really did have 2 weddings in one book, and she was actively decompensating in a way that was not great. And if, say, I had a friend named Feyre who had just broken off an engagement with a guy who was pretty controlling, very like surveillance state on her, and like was very like just overprotective and stifling her and all of that. If she then took a sabbatical to another country and then decided, oh, hey, I'm going to marry this guy who was an instrumental part of my trauma from the last relationship and also twisted my arm a bunch and can read my mind and I have no privacy inside my own head, but he lays down the Illyrian D so well, I would tell her to take a single year. But suddenly Elain has to? Elain, who has found coping mechanisms off page, semi-off page, on her own. We haven't needed to follow her to know that like she's actually assimilating pretty well. I'm sure that like there's a lot more to be said about Elain assimilating into Prithian culture and adapting to her new circumstances. I'm sure there's a lot more to be said about that. But I would say that Elain is more adaptable in that way. Like unlike Nesta and Feyre, she is kind of going with the flow here. She's just like, okay, like this all sucks. And when she got pulled out of like her fugue state from Akawar, she actually did like settle into her life reasonably well. Maybe she's not all there mentally, but we're never in a position where we're like, oh no, like Elaine's not doing well. Like she's definitely had some moments where we're like, all right, are you okay, girl? But that is to be expected given everything that's happened to her. But she didn't visibly decompensate. She doesn't have any active triggers in the way that Nesta and Feyre do. So really, Elain, as far as we know, is in better shape psychologically. and is actually capable of healing and being in a romantic relationship, especially because the men that she is in a love triangle with are actually worth something and are not garbage. If Elain was getting with, virginity focused Cassian over here, I would then, hey, girl, like, please be careful. Like, I am very, very concerned about you. But she's not. Her love triangle options here are Lucien and Azriel, and both of these men are actually decent dudes who are worth something. So, no, I think genre wise, Elain's going to have an endgame because the other sisters did. And Elain, I think, is, as far as we are aware, psychologically in a better position to deal in a relationship with one of these two men who, again, is worth something. If this was Rhysand or Cassian, I might have a different answer here. But this is Lucien and Azriel, and Lucien and Azriel are consistently proving their worth. So I don't have a problem with Elain being, like, traumatized and all of that. I mean, I do have a problem with that because, like, that sucks. As her attorney, I do want better for her. But I do think out of her sisters, she lucked out the best here because not only does she have, again, the men in her life who are worth something, but also she is in a position to make choices that Nesta and Feyre aren't. So for it to just be like, oh no, like she's just not going to have an endgame, I just don't think that that's going to happen, like, at all.